Guys, Tyrant Newsme has taken over. Again. There's been a show that's been recommended to me for over a year now, and again, it gets knocked down by frankly worse shows. A show that actually predates Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? And that show is, of course, Eerie Indiana. Eerie Indiana is a short-lived series that lasted for just one season and only 19 episodes from 1991 to 1993. It was created by Jose Rivera, a writer for the Goosebumps series, and Carl Schaefer, with the famous Joe Dante working as creative consultant, and he also directed 5 of the 19 episodes. The show originally aired on NBC, but reruns played on both Fox Kids and the Disney Channel, and although it wasn't very popular in its original airing, the reruns of the show helped it gain its audience and gain somewhat of a cult following. This show is a bit different from the other shows I talk about because it doesn't follow an anthology format, but it has an actual storyline that can get pretty intense at times. The show follows Marshall Teller, played by Omri Katz, famous for being Max Dennison in the Hocus Pocus movie, but he's a kid who just moved from New Jersey to Eerie, Indiana, where he quickly learns that this town is the center of all weirdness in the universe. He and his new friend Simon Holmes, the only other normal person in town, together they explore the town and face multiple strange situations, like evil dogs that can talk to a kid through his braces, Bigfoot, an electric bank teller that is a bit too nice, and the place where all your lost things end up. This series is pretty goofy most of the time, but that doesn't mean it can't get pretty serious and actually a little spooky at times. Today I decided to start with the first episode titled Foreverware, written by the show creators Jose Rivera and Carl Schaefer, and directed by the famous Joe Dante. It came out on September 15th in 1991, and it is one of the most iconic and remembered episodes of the show. Probably because it's the first episode. That tends to happen with the first episodes of these series. It has been referenced in my comments and streams a ton. But even if it wasn't the first episode, I think this would be a fan favorite episode. It's such a unique idea that hasn't been done before or since. And I'm excited to talk about it, so let's quit yapping and get into it. Since it's the first episode, we start the episode by being introduced to Marshall, as he writes a letter just in case he mysteriously disappears while investigating the town. He then shows us around town. It looks like the picture perfect town anyone would love to live in, but if you look closer, things get more and more weird. Oh, hey Elvis.
Thank you, little paper boy.
What a nice guy. Love that guy. Okay, usually I don't mention the theme songs for these shows, but the opening for this one is literally so weird. I can't even begin to describe it to you guys. I'm sure if you took some not so legal drugs and watched it, you'd probably have a panic attack. Or see God. Which neither are good, but next we move on to the Teller house. We meet Marshall's family. His mom is an event planner for the town, and his dad is a product tester and inventor for a company called Things Incorporated. What, that's the name? Their house is a bit messy.
Where's Donna Reed when you need her?
Hey, an old person joke. Hey. Who's Donna Reed? As Marshall tries to find something that isn't covered in mold for breakfast, a visitor comes to the door. Marshall's sister, Sydney, opens to see a very vibrant woman named Betty Wilson and her 2 sons, Bertram and Ernest. But of course, they call them Bert and Ernie. A very obvious reference to our favorite dudes from Sesame Street. Side note, I am so glad Sesame Street found its new home on Netflix. And of course, I am going to say, save PBS and NPR. They're neighbors from up the street, and they welcome the family into their new home. And after that, Betty just kinda invites herself in. She immediately starts to shill her own Tupperware line. She sees that Miss Teller has a pretty busy and overwhelming life.
Well, I wouldn't say overwhelming.
Well, those days are over.
She tries to convince Miss Teller to buy her own Tupperware line, Foreverware, but Miss Teller doesn't look too jazzed about the idea, so she invites her to a Foreverware party at her house the next day to meet a few of her other neighbors and to try and convince her to buy a few containers. Miss Teller does think she needs a few girlfriends, or else she'll get really lonely in this town, and this would be a great opportunity for her to make a few friends. So she decides to just go and try it out. And as a thank you, Betty gives Miss Teller a book full of recipes and other things to do with the Foreverware containers, as well as a bologna sandwich that has been in one of the Foreverware containers since 1974. Ew. She says that the sandwich is just as fresh as the day she made it, and if the product is used correctly, then the food inside of the container should last literally forever. But make sure the lids are sealed tightly or the product won't work and the aging process is actually faster than normal. And as Betty and her sons leave, one of the boys slips Marshall a note that reads, Yearbook, 1964. Later that day, Marshall and his buddy Simon check out every yearbook from the library.
The librarian thought I was weird checking out all those yearbooks.
Why didn't you just check out the yearbook for 1964? like the note told you to. While searching for clues in the yearbooks, he finds Bert and Ernie in adorable chef's aprons, but it doesn't look like they've aged a day since 1964. That means those two little guys are actually over 30 years old. Curious about this, Marshall and Simon decide to investigate the Foreverware container that's in his fridge, and they open it to find a regular old bologna sandwich. It also literally says fresh when you open the container, which is a little strange. I don't think I would trust that. They do find it a little strange that the bologna sandwich is completely fresh despite it being almost 20 years old, so they decide to follow Betty and see what's really going on. But they were in such a hurry to leave, they didn't completely seal the container before putting it back in the fridge. After sneaking around the yard for a little bit, they see Betty in the kitchen putting food into more Foreverware containers and filling her fridge with them. They then follow her upstairs and watch as she tucks her sons into massive Foreverware containers to keep them young forever. But sadly, their little secret mission gets busted.
Run away! Run away!
The next morning, Marshall is eating breakfast, but for the first time in a very long time, or ever, they're having pancakes for breakfast. Usually his mom just gives him a bowl of cereal and lets him move on with the day, but his mom tells him that she got this recipe from her Foreverware cookbook, and she's also cleaning out the fridge, which isn't a normal thing, apparently. Okay, that's actually gross. Please clean your fridges, at least once a month or once a year, hopefully. Marshall debates on telling his dad about his mom being sucked into a strange Tupperware cult, but when he tries, he can't seem to do it. Instead, he decides to take matters into his own hands. He follows his mom to the party, where she is greeted by equally colorful women like Betty, and all of these ladies look incredibly young despite most of them using Foreverware for over 30 years. One of them even brought Brussels sprouts that have been sealed since Jimmy Carter was president.
And they're still fresh.
Okay, you know when she opened that, it smelled like somebody just ripped ass. I'm surprised like a green cloud of smoke didn't come out when she cracked that thing open. These women are so obsessed with Foreverware that they have their own song that they sing each meeting like it's the Pledge of Allegiance or something.
1, 2, 3.
Foreverware, for wise mothers everywhere.
This is one of the strangest things in the episode. And this episode is about Tupperware. While they're busy singing their Foreverware anthem, Marshall not so sneakily sneaks upstairs.
The muffins that you made today will still be fresh and early made. Your
Bert and Ernie hear him and head upstairs to go talk to him. As Marshall investigates the Foreverware beds, the boys meet him upstairs and kind of corner him in their room. Don't you do it. He's debating on jumping on the shelf. That's what he's doing. Ash, no. What do you guys say? Riveting stuff. They corner him in their room and then they say,
We need your help.
and while they chat upstairs, downstairs, Betty notices that her sons are missing, and she rushes upstairs to find them. But before she gets to the room, we cut back to Marshall and the boys where they inform her that their mom has been sealing them in bed every night since their father died in 1964. She wants to keep them young so that she will never lose them. But then,
boys.
they hear their mom coming. So they quickly shove Marshall into one of their beds and distract their mom until she leaves. After seeing how terrifying it is to be stuck in one of these containers for a whole night, Marshall agrees to help the guys escape their insane mother. And they all sneak downstairs and find Miss Teller is signing a contract to buy some Foreverware for her whole family. Seeing his mom fall for Betty's ruse only fueled Marshall to help the boys with their plan. That night, Marshall and Simon head back over to the house, where Simon offers to help Marshall with the plan, but Marshall doesn't let him in because he's just a kid.
No offense, but you're just a kid and this could be dangerous.
Bro, you're maybe 3 years older than him. Maybe. You're both just kids. But he does tell Simon that he needs him to hold the key to the evidence locker, and if things go south while he's in there, he knows what to do.
I go straight to the president.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Something tells me the president should already know about Eerie, Indiana, though. After Betty seals the boys into their beds, and herself in her own Foreverware queen-sized bed, Marshall uses the trellis outside to climb into their room and set the boys free. But as he does this, Betty can sense that something is wrong. So she quickly rushes into the boys' room to find everything seems to be in order, so she heads back to bed. But she's dumb for not checking a little bit harder because they were just hiding in the closet. Bert and Ernie thank Marshall for all his help and tell him,
We'll take care of Mother.
are they gonna like kill her or something? No, they just open her Foreverware bed and she has one of the most dramatic reactions to it ever.
My vacuum seal!
Geez, calm down, lady. My God, it's not the end of the world. The next day, Marshall is happy to see his house is a mess again, and his mom made him cereal for breakfast. As they eat, Mr. Teller finds the bologna sandwich in the fridge, and we get to see a glimpse of what happens with accelerated moldy food.
So much for the Forever and Foreverware.
Oh, gross.
Which actually helped Miss Teller realize that she doesn't really want to buy a family package of Foreverware containers. And later that day, Marshall and his mom both head over to Betty's house to cancel the order, but before they even knock on the door, they spot a couple of adult twins putting the house up for sale. The twins tell Miss Teller that Betty had a family emergency and she had to leave town for a while. And luckily for Miss Teller, the twins had the paperwork on them so she could cancel her order if she wanted. And as they talk in the yard, a very old lady peeks her head out of the window and sees who's in her yard. But the boys just tell her to calm down and go back inside while they handle things. And Marshall and his mom begin to leave when one of the twin boys gives Marshall a wink, letting him know that it is in fact Bert and Ernie. And we end the episode with Marshall and Simon putting the Foreverware bologna sandwich into the evidence locker.
A kid's gotta grow up fast in Eerie, or he might not grow up at all.
And that's the end of the episode. What an insane idea for an episode. It's a really silly idea that is actually kind of haunting in a way. I mean, these two guys look like they were 12 years old for over 30 years. I'm surprised they didn't call CPS on their mom for making them sleep in like giant food containers, you know? I'm sure there's some kind of law against that. I'm sure you could come up with something. But it's such a great episode. It's so entertaining the whole time. It perfectly sets the vibes for the rest of the show. Eerie is indeed the center of all weirdness, and it only gets stranger from here on out. I honestly would say this is one of the least strange episodes. I do want to give props to the actress who played Betty, Luann Gideon. She did a great job. She gives off scammy door-to-door saleswoman so well, and she also gives off a perfect vibe that won't let you trust her fully. And there's a few times in this episode where she lets this saleswoman persona drop, and you can see her actual evil intentions with Foreverware. I love these little moments in the episode. It gives her character so much more to work with, and it also keeps an uneasy vibe around the house and the whole situation. I really enjoyed it. Once again, such a solid episode, insanely goofy, a lot of fun, and it's a great way to start off the series. But let me know what you think about the episode in the comments below. And if you want to check out Eerie, Indiana for yourself, it is on Peacock, also Amazon Prime, but it's also free on Tubi, so if you don't have either one of those, you can still go check it out. There's actually another version of Eerie, Indiana. It's called Eerie, Indiana, The Other Dimension. So if you finish this one off, you have a whole nother show to watch too. Some people don't like the second one as much, but I think it's fine, you know? I also want to give a shout out to Lily's Craft Corner for sending me a custom Gremlin doll from the Twilight Zone episode I talked about a few weeks ago. She is very sweet, so kind to me. She actually reached out to me to make it for me because I said I wanted it in the video. So yeah, check out her Etsy if you want some custom dolls. They're really cool. I'll put it in the link in the description below. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get bonus content plus videos a day early, maybe some pictures of my cats, a Discord server, and your name right here on screen. And I have to talk for a little bit longer so I can get all the other members in here. Wow, so many members. Wow, this is crazy. So cool. It's so many members. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. Is going to attack my hand here in a second. I know he is. I just have to wait for it.
I knew it. You can't trick me.